5:30 on January 26th. We're going to call this City Council meeting to order. If we can have a roll call, please, Madam Clerk. I won't even reach over that far in this. Just speak up.
Mr. Mays?
Present.
Ms. Hopper? Present. Mr. Nelson?
Present. Present.
Mr. Davis? Here. Mr. Winfrey?
Present.
Ms. Galloway?
Present.
Present. Here. All right, just a second. Let me get the new agenda up here. Councilman Mays, you want to do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Mr. President,
Let's get through the minutes.
I wanted to do a moment of silence.
Okay.
That would be for former Flint police officer, school liaison officer, Levester Crosland.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, minutes are on file. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
It's been moved. Is there support? Support. Been moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President, I would move to amend that we accept the minutes with corrections.
Okay.
Is there any support?
Is there support for that amended motion?
Support.
What's your corrections, Councilman?
I'm just now getting the minutes, so, you know, I haven't had a chance to look at them in detail. So, I don't know if you want to hesitate or what.
If you've got a correction, let's make the correction, and if not, then we'll go ahead and...
I'm going to have to look at them, but I can't say, you know,
Okay.
if I don't know, I don't vote.
Any further discussion? Can we have roll call on the minutes?
Mr. Mays?
Pass.
Ms. Hopper? Yes. Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Ms. Galloway?
Yes.
Ms. Van Buren?
Yes.
Mr. Caputa?
Yes.
The vote is a yes with one abstention.
Well, no, I passed. If you come back to me, I'll vote no because I haven't looked at them.
8 yes, 1 no.
So it would be 8 yes.
Normally, under the rules, I don't go back around.
Well, I passed. I didn't
We'll
abstain.
address it for the next meeting. We'll address it for the next meeting. Okay, you voted no. 8-1, the motion passes. We do have 2 special orders on the agenda, and can we... First special order, 150028, is for Grace Emmanuel Baptist Church, Women of Grace. And I believe that was requested by Councilwoman Galloway.
Yes.
And if
We
you
have
want to go
a.
out to the podium.
I am.
Okay.
If I can have Ms. Gates and Wiley come up to the podium. Thank you. We have a tribute to the women of Grace Emmanuel because they helped to beautify the city, and so I'll just read it in its entirety. In the name of the people of the city of Flint, a special tribute. Be it resolved, on behalf of the citizens of the city of Flint, the Flint City Council expresses its sincere appreciation to Grace Emmanuel Baptist Church Women of Grace for your untiring dedication, commitment, and outstanding efforts to beautify and enhance the quality of life in the city of Flint. Your hard work and positive vision for our community will always be remembered. By the order of the Flint City Council of the City of Flint, Michigan, this 18th day of January. Thank you guys so much for beautifying. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
All right, next item on our agenda is a special order for an audit presentation from our auditors, Yo and Yo. And before we get started on that, just so you know, I have to bounce out for a little bit at 6:30 for my son's play, but I will be back. Councilman Vice President Davis will be taking over in my place. So,
Mr. President,
yeah.
what will be the format of this special order? What can we expect? What is,
Yeah, what we can expect is a presentation on the audit. They're going to kind of walk through the audit and their findings and that sort of thing. And then what we're going to do, rather than asking questions tonight, since all of us are just getting a copy of the audit today, what we're going to do is Mr. Ambrose has talked with me earlier. He'll be beginning with Councilwoman Galloway, who's Chair of Finance, and probably on the 9th, where we're going to have a special, or a council meeting on the 9th, we'll have a Finance Committee of the whole prior to that meeting, where we'll be able to ask specific questions on the audit after we've had an opportunity to go through and read it.
So, Mr. President, normally when y'all do the audit, is this the normal process that has been in the past? You and Mr. Kincaid, do we normally get this type of presentation first, or do we do it in Finance Committee meeting first?
Normally we don't do a presentation and then have a second meeting with questions. I think typically it was presented at a council meeting, and then we would just ask questions there. But we usually got the audit ahead of time, and we have not gotten the audit ahead of time.
And I'm not blaming our staff, we short of staff, kind of like the minutes. Yeah.
No, it wasn't given to us.
Right, so this audit hadn't been given to us like normal. Normally we'll have it ahead of time, and we would be prepared to ask questions. So now we're just now getting it. So we will still proceed with the presentation,
right.
No questions, and then we will set up a second meeting in Finance Committee meeting for questions. How long do we think this will take? Do we know?
This presentation now?
Yes.
Half hour? But I mean, the audit book is, I mean, it's pretty lengthy, so
I understand.
I don't have an opportunity.
So who's telling us that we can't ask a question?
The emergency manager.
May I ask the emergency manager a question? Mr. President.
We're just going to go through with the.
I mean, really.
I understand.
If I'm trying to digest the presentation, the emergency manager, if he really wants to work with us, it seems appalling that he would tell us that we got to sit here like dummies, getting a presentation, need to know something. So, you know, this is a new emergency manager. This is a new day. They're saying in April we'll transition out. I want to politely ask Mr. Ambrose, why can't we be ourselves? And I've been in school. I went all the way through Michigan State. Even in school, we can ask questions. We're smart, but every now and then, if I have to ask a question, I don't want to be embarrassed out in the public. I might have a question that is relevant for me to digest the presentation. Who makes these ridiculous orders? Mr. Ambrose, is he telling the truth? And if he is, then could I appeal to you in a business and human sense to change that order and let us politely get through this presentation?
We're going to go ahead with the presentation. If I would suggest that if you have some specific questions that you write them down so you don't forget them, and we'll be able to ask those questions on the 9th. But we're going to move forward with the presentation, and you know, if we can do it in a civil and orderly way, everybody's going to benefit.
The presentation would be no more than what I got here, correct?
Yeah. And just also for our friends in the audience, we're going to conduct this meeting in an orderly and civil way. And if you're not interested in that, then I would ask you to make your scene now so that we can ask you to leave, and then the rest of us who want the information are going to move forward with the meeting. So if you are here,
Mr. President,
I'm going to call him out of order and ask him to take his seat.
Okay.
And if he doesn't take his seat, then I'm going to ask him to leave.
Let me say that.
I'm not done yet, Councilman.
Okay.
And if he doesn't take his seat, I'm going to ask him to leave. And if he doesn't leave, then I'll ask the officer to remove him from the meeting. But we're not going to have a circus tonight, and it's not going to be a zoo.
Mr. President, if I can say this, we can. Hey, hold up, y'all. Hold up, y'all. I'm going to say this and then we can move forward with the presentation. For months and years, we have been civilized.
Right.
And we have been civilized in some of these orders and rules, and I thought it would be a nicer day when Mr. Ambrose came on. I understand that some of the council people and elected officials go along to get along, but I would caution you and the emergency manager of this. When we talk politely as we start this presentation, which will happen, and when Reverend Whitaker, and I'm going to emphasize Reverend Whitaker stands up as we leave the Martin Luther King Day and go into Black History Month, I'm at a point like this. If we can't be polite and civilized month after month after month, this might be the day that when you start moving the citizens that I represent, and when people start disrespecting me, I take an escalated approach. I wouldn't care if I got arrested or removed. My position is this: we have been civilized, and it's polite and civilized to ask how the presentation gonna go. We've heard how it was going.
Councilman, I hear what you're
We've heard it. Now I've asked him politely to give us some leeway. He's sitting there just looking. Maybe he want the councilman arrested. Maybe he'd want us to look at a presentation we don't understand and ask no questions. So look, I'm gonna test it tonight. And I'm telling you, if I test it tonight, if these citizens are messed with wrongfully, and if I'm messed with wrongfully, I think this is it, Mr. Ambrose. Now, I don't know what you'll get up here and say. I don't know what you're hearing us say. Maybe you ain't hearing this conversation, but there's nothing wrong with me being able to say, could you repeat that part of the presentation?
All right,
There's something I don't understand.
Mr. Mays, we hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with what you're saying.
Well, ask him to give us some leeway.
But the reality of the situation is it is what it is. So let's move on.
Well, there he is. Ask him. Do you disagree with us just asking him?
I'm asking you to stop.
So when did y'all set these rules? You and him set these rules?
Yes, he and I did.
Okay, that's why I think we got to change our, Mr. President, don't do this to us. Don't agree with them all the time.
Councilman, I'm going to ask you to stop, and we're going to move on with the
Okay, let's do like we did in the auditorium. Let's see how this presentation go, and at the end, if it ain't right, not only will y'all be arrested, but I think today I'll go with you.
Okay.
Can I make a
Enough is enough.
Let's get on with our
President,
presentation.
I'd like to make a statement.
Yeah.
I do have a question, and I don't know if you can answer it. I too had concerns about not being able to ask questions. I don't want to make a show of it. When I remember the last presentation, and you guys can, I was a newer council person, but it seems like it was delivered in the committee room where we were able to ask questions, and I really remember it because I remember the room. But my question is, when we do have questions at the 9th meeting, is the 2 presenters from Yo and Yo going to be there as well? Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
And just to clarify for everybody else, I got off an airplane at 2:30, and about 3:15 I was told this is what's going on, so it is what it is.
Mr. President, if I may.
Thank you, President.
If I may. If I see a question about that water
Mr.
and
Mays, I'm
sewer,
going to rule you out of order and ask you to stop.
I appeal the decision of the chair.
I'm not going to recognize it.
You ain't, and ain't nobody going to support that appeal?
And I'm asking you to stop. If you continue, I'm going to ask you to leave. We're going to move on with the presentation, and that's
If
what we're
I
going to do.
appeal the ruling of the chair, you're
Councilman,
supposed to ask, is there a second to the
Councilman,
appeal? That's Robert's rules, that's order.
This is your last warning. If you
Okay,
continue
well,
on,
it's going to be
I'm
your
gonna
last
ask
warning
you
as
to
well.
be removed.
It's going to be your last
Okay.
warning.
Can we start with the presentation, please?
I'm going to exercise my freedom of speech.
Mr. President and council members, good evening. The purpose for tonight is to present you with the financial results of the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2014. We understand in this mode of presentation that this is a high-level presentation. In
Can you lift your
discussions
microphone up, please?
in discussions with President Freeman, we decided that it would be to the best advantage of the council members to receive the presentation tonight and to have a meeting at a committee level, Committee of the Whole, next on February the 9th, where we have the opportunity, where you've had the opportunity to read a very large document, to absorb what is said, and to ask questions, specific questions, to the presenters tonight. That's the process, that's the procedure that we sent forth. But let me say this outside of the discussions about process and procedure, and that this is an important part of the step forward toward transition. This is the second year that the city has achieved a favorable result in its financial statements to the extent that revenues have exceeded expenses and the deficit has been reduced significantly. We are moving forward well in accordance with the deficit elimination plan that's in place. We look forward to that continuing. We want to give you full opportunity to understand the results of FY14, hence the special committee of the whole meeting coming up. And as you all know, this is just the beginning of a process as we begin to think about the next year's budget. There's a meeting scheduled for January the 28th with the council to talk about the city's strategic plan and to look at updating that. And we anticipate that the council will be in a position to adopt that on February the 9th. That puts into place the first few steps of moving forward to developing another multi-year budget, a budget that updates FY16, establishes one for FY17. We are fully expecting and anticipating working with the council as they develop this budget, and by the time April rolls around, the mayor will be presenting a balanced budget for that. So this is the beginning of a very important process for the city as it moves forward into its transition. So with that, I'd like to turn this over to Mr. David Youngstrom and Ms. Jamie Rivette of Yo and Yo. The Yo and Yo are our auditors this is their first audit with us. From our perspective, it's been valuable to have a new set of eyes. We've greatly appreciated the prior relationship we had with the former firm, and the selection for Yo and Yo was not based on any dissatisfaction, but from our perspective, it was the result of a competitive process, and there's an added benefit of having an additional set of eyes. So with that, I'll turn it over. Thank you.
Well, good evening. You do have a document in front of you. It's regular lengthy. I have brought a PowerPoint for tonight to do the high-level presentation to you, and then you'll have time to look through that document for our next meeting, if that's okay with council. So we have the PowerPoint here. First off, I'm Dave Youngstrom. This is Jamie Rivette. We're both partners at Yo and Yo. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here to present your audit. It's as he said, it's our first year with you. So in the first year provides a lot of unique opportunities. So with that, I guess we'll just get started. Does everybody have the PowerPoint handy?
Oh.
There should have a bound copy. Yep.
Oh, no, I was just thinking we can't see the screen.
It's the same thing that we've got.
Yep, we have it there. That's all right.
Yep.
Everybody's got that? Okay. So again, this is just a big overview of the whole thing. We'll have plenty of time to discuss any details you have or any questions you have on that thick bound report at the next meeting. But this is just to kind of give you an overview of the process. First off, the audit was submitted by the deadline. December 31st is your deadline to the state. We submitted it easily by that deadline in the first year. We'd like to thank the staff of the office as well, because all their hard work in a transition year is a lot of work. So we couldn't do it without their help. So what this just does is takes your revenue and transfers in your general fund. We're looking at your major general fund here, taking a look at that and seeing what changed from one year to the next. And in a pie chart we're looking at here, our largest source of revenue is our state revenue, and that's about 32% of our revenues. And that's up about 6% this year, which is about $1 million. We did get about $600,000 of that in additional revenue sharing this year. Our other revenues decreased quite a bit this year, and that was just a decrease in our federal grants, as well as some, in the prior year we had some consumers revenue we got from an audit we had. And then our charges for services were down 1% this year, down to 18%, another major category. Our fines and forfeitures were the same, about 4% of our revenues. And our transfers did go up a little bit this year. And again, that's just transferring some of those things in compliance with the plan to the water and the sewer fund. Our property taxes decreased about 1%, and our income taxes remained about the same from one year to the next. So that's kind of the picture and overview of our revenue in a global sense. So let's take a look at it over time. You can see our bar chart shows where the revenues were for the last 6 fiscal years. And you can see 2011 is a big year. We went back there, we had a $8.4 million in judgment levy that year and an $8 million loan to drive those revenues up there, and it kind of got back down to our lowest level in 2012. In 2013, it did go up a little bit. We did have $1.2 million from consumers that we received, which was one-time money, as well as $2.6 million we put into projects in the downtown area. We also received a $1.5 million MOT grant. And then in 14, you can see our revenues declined about 14%. So where do we spend our revenues? We did get less revenues, but where are we spending our dollars? The vast majority of our dollars are paid public safety out of our general fund. 69% of our dollars, so 69 cents of every dollar we get goes to public safety. General government takes about 15%. District court about 10%, that was up 1%. Public safety is the same from one year to the next, 69% each of the years. We've spent a consistent amount in public safety. Our transfers did go up a little bit this year. We did receive some additional money this year, or spend a little money in compliance with our plan. We funded some parks dollars as well as some building renovations. So that was up about 1%. And overall, our indirect costs of the general fund were down about 2% this year. So that's really a pretty consistent picture. Parks and Recs is about the same as it was the prior year. General government the same, as well as public safety. So spending is pretty consistent. Taking a look at the line, or the bar chart here for our expenditures and the trend, again, you can see the 11 was the bigger expenditures. 12 it dropped, 13 again, and a 9% decrease from 13 to 14, also with that revenue decrease. So the revenue and expense in the next chart will show you, kind of paint the picture where your revenues are over a 6-year period, as well as our expenditures. And you can see where in 11 where we got a big peak of revenue in there, down in 12. In the last 2 fiscal years, we've been in, the revenues had exceeded expenditures by $6.3 million in 2013 and $3.9 million in 2014. So 2 positive years to the good. So what's left? We're obviously in a deficit position. Everybody knows that. We are following our plan. We're doing the plan and consistent with what we've done. And you can see the last 2 years we're creeping up. Again, making good progress in 2 years. 2 more years, if the same progress, we should be pretty close to being out of that deficit. So I think the news is as good as it can be. Another one of our major funds is our water fund, and I won't spend too much time on talking about the water and sewer funds, just overall operationally. Overall, our revenues, you can see in the water fund, the first 3 years, we were behind, 9, 10, and 11. Our revenues were less than our expenditures. In 12, 13, and 14, they were above. And now 12 went up, 13 went up, and 14 is back down. So 3 years of revenue exceeding expenditures, but the difference between a governmental fund and a water fund or enterprise fund is that water fund has to maintain itself. So we need that revenue to be ahead of that so it can fund operations and ongoing maintenance. But we're narrowing the gap. It's just something we need to keep an eye on. Sewer fund, another one of our major funds. You can see here the revenues had been trailing for 4 years, expenditures in those funds. After 4 years now, we've got our revenues up to where they need to be, and you can see a good consistent gap right in there of the revenue and expenses. So we're kind of where we need to be in the sewer fund. So that's good news in the last 2 years. We've gotten that to where we need to be and started into 12. I'm going to turn this over to Jamie to talk to a little bit about some of the controls and some of the testing we've done.
Thank you. In planning and performing for the audit of the financial statements, not only do we check all the numbers, we also do some internal control testing. And we like to tailor our tests towards management override areas as well as areas where we feel there could potentially be fraud risk. And I'll just name a couple of those management override tests that we do. We have some data extraction software that we're able to import the general ledger. right into our software, and then we can key into those journal entries that we want to test. So we focus on journal entries that are posted to seldom used accounts, round accounts at year end, so that we can tailor that and select those journal entries for testing. Another management override test we do is we check for fictitious employees. So we also get a download of the employees' names and addresses, and also check that to the direct deposits, and looking for duplicate employees while we're doing that test. A few other areas that we test are looking for inappropriate or unauthorized reimbursements to key employees. We also focus on the water sewer department too, and we check those water and sewer employees' bills and making sure that there are no improper adjustments made to their accounts. And we're happy to note that during those tests, we did not find any discrepancies. During our audit process, we did note 4 items that are noted in the PowerPoint that you can see that we consider to be a material weakness. And what that is that's a deficiency or a combination of deficiencies in your internal control, where the entity's financial statements would not be able to prevent, detect, or correct that misstatement. And I'll just kind of touch on those. The first one was audit adjustments. In order for the financial statements to be in accordance with GAAP, we did have to post some journal entries, and those were used to post to adjust the debt, capital leases, some fund balances, and also some accruals. But we want to note that the majority of these entries really were just year-end adjustments, so the financial information that you're getting on an interim basis is accurate. The next item that we noted as a material weakness was the capital asset maintenance. When we were given the capital asset detail, there were adjustments that needed to be made to adjust for the additions and disposals of fixed assets. So we just put in here that we suggest that, we understand that the departments, the finance department is waiting on a lot of other departments to give them the information for the adjustments and disposals, which we know there wasn't a lot of time for the finance department to review this information before it was given to us. The third item noted was a prior period adjustment, and that had to do with a journal entry that needed to be posted as a claims payable that was not caught in the prior year. So we caught that while we were out there, and that entry has been posted, which did decrease the beginning net position of the governmental net assets. And the last item noted here was the inventory method. The water and sewer funds are required to record their inventory on the consumption method, and during the year that method was switched to the purchase method, so there were numerous journal entries that needed to be posted to get that inventory to the correct value. We also wanted to note that we did not identify any significant deficiencies while we're doing the audit. During our audit, we also became aware of the following matters that we feel are the opportunities to help strengthen the internal controls. And there were 3 areas that we noted here. The first one is credit card payment acceptance policy. It's state law that the city have a formal policy and a past resolution if they are going to accept credit cards as payment. The next item is budget overages. During our review of the city's budget, we noted that there were several expenditures in excess of the budget, and we just want to make sure and mention that the city should be amending that and making sure that those items are amended to match what the expenditure is. And the last item that we noted, which I know you're all aware of, the deficit fund balance in the general fund. However, there has been significant improvement. It was $12.8 million, and that's now down to $8.9 million. And there was the component unit, the Economic Development Corporation, also had an unassigned deficit at the end of the year of $119,000. In addition to the financial statement audit, the city is also required to have a single audit, and that is because the city receives and expends more than $500,000 in federal grants. And this year we tested 5 major programs. And while doing so, we covered 85% of the total federal expenditures, which was $13.4 million. And when we tested those, we only had one finding, and that was in the Community Development and Block Grant, or your CDBG grant. And really, it was just, there was a CAPER, the Consolidated Annual Performance Report. That's required to be reported 90 days after the year end, and that was not filed timely. So that was the one finding that we had. And now I'll turn it over to Dave to cover some of the future challenges of the city.
Kind of the last slide we have for you tonight is just talking about the future, and obviously we focus on the future every day we're here. We talked about the general fund deficit, fund balance. We're moving in the right direction. Things have kind of gone our way a little bit, if you will. Personal property tax is a big area, big reform area, and we're promised to get money for that, but there's no guarantee, so it's always an ongoing issue when you hear talk about personal property taxes and how we're removing those and how the state is funding those. We always have to be aware of that as we go. We're all dealing with escalating health care costs, always going to be an issue for the next foreseeable future. But that's something we have to get our arms around. Our claims were up a little bit this year again, and it continues to rise. Increase in retirement costs are something that all municipalities in the state are facing every day, and that's something we do. We'll talk about legacy costs in a couple minutes. And overall, we have a declining tax base, which again, a lot of places in Michigan are having that issue, and it tends to push us into a deficit position. We do have an aging infrastructure. We don't have really any funding lined up for our infrastructure and replacement of old buildings and equipment, which certainly needs improvements. And then lastly, I want to talk about our unfunded obligations or our legacy costs. We have unfunded OPEB costs. At the end of the year, it was about $240 million. 10 years ago, that number was $860 million. So we made a lot of progress in that area. And then our unfunded pension obligation is another $261 million as of June 30th. So those are big issues that municipalities all over the state are dealing with, and we're dealing with them here as well. So I always want to talk about that as what we're looking toward in the future, as you hear things that are out in the communities, or we're talking about things. These are the challenges we all face, and we're trying to solve them together. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. All right, next item on our agenda is public hearings. We've got several of them tonight. The first one up is 140850, which is an amendment to Chapter 18. Do you want to talk about, though? Do you want to read that out? I know typically you do. It's the very first one, 140850. Okay, this should be attached towards the end of your meeting, or the end of your booklet. Right. All right, is there anybody here to address the City Council on this public hearing? Is there anybody here to address the City Council on this public hearing? Anyone to address the City Council on this public hearing? This public hearing is closed. Next public hearing is on 140851, which is amendment to Chapter 18, with the addition of Article 10, which deals with a fund balance policy. Is there anybody here to speak to the City Council on this public hearing? Seeing none, this public hearing is closed. 140852, again an amendment to Chapter 18 with the addition of Article 11, which deals with our OPEB funding. Is there anybody here to speak on this public hearing? Anyone to speak on this public hearing? This public hearing is closed. Next one is 140853, another amendment to Chapter 18 dealing with the Budget Stabilization Fund. Is there anybody here to speak on this public hearing? Anybody? Yes. Please state your name for the record, and you do have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Council. My name is Paul Herring. I reside at 525 Mason Street.
Good evening.
And my question related to these special orders and also the presentation is, where do we get these numbers online so that we can track and try to do this math ourselves? I noticed that the young lady mentioned some places that they were looking for deficits. I didn't hear her mention the gas pumps outside, and we don't know.
This is a specific public hearing for the amendment to Chapter 18.
And the amendment to Chapter 18 changes the way we view the budget, correct?
No.
No? Okay, sorry, my
Not
bad.
a problem. But just to answer your question, I believe all of this stuff is going to be posted online by the first of the week. So you can take a look at the audit document that we were presented. Yep. All right. Anybody else to speak on this public hearing? Anybody else? This public hearing is closed. Public hearing 140854.1, which is amendment to Chapter 2, and this has to deal with developing and updating our strategic plan. Anybody to speak on this public hearing? Anybody? This public hearing is closed.
Mr. President,
Yes,
are these things up for action tonight?
they are.
Okay.
Later in the agenda. 140855.1, it's another amendment to Chapter 2, and it deals with a biennial budget and three-year financial forecasts. Anybody here to speak on this public hearing? Anybody here to speak on this public hearing? This public hearing is closed. 140905 is another amendment to Chapter 2, and this has to do with adopting budgets. Is there anybody here to speak on this public hearing? Anybody here to speak on this public hearing? This public hearing is closed. 140910 is an amendment to Chapter 35, which deals with, I believe, the holidays that are recognized by the city. Yeah. Anybody here to speak to this public hearing? Anybody here to speak to this public hearing? This public hearing is closed. Are there any other petitions or unofficial communications, Madam Clerk? Are there any other, let me get down there, communications from city officials? All right. Let me get down.
Miss,
Just a second, Councilman. All right, we're out to the portion of our agenda that deals with council committee reports. First one that we have up is Councilwoman Van Buren, and it's public safety. Councilwoman?
Yes. Our last public safety meeting was held last Thursday, January 22nd. At that time, a report was given by consultants from ICMA on the operations of the fire department and police department. A copy of that report is available on the City of Flint website.
Thank you. Councilwoman Galloway for Finance and Administration.
My mind is blank, I'm so sorry.
We dealt a little bit with the strategic
I
plan
know.
and
In the water.
water
Thursday.
Wednesday.
I'm sorry, my mind is just all over the place. We had our finance meeting on Wednesday, January 21st at 5:30. We dealt a little bit with the strategic planning, talked about the budget that was going to be presented to us today. I'm sorry, that meeting was a little bit out of the norm because we had protesters for the water, because of the water meeting that was going to take place at 5:30. There was some discussion just briefly on whether or not we were going back to Detroit water, in which at that time it was said that we were not, and that was about it.
Okay. That's it, Councilwoman? Next committee is legislative. Councilman Neely is no longer here. Obviously, he was the chairperson. I've appointed Councilman Mays to be that chair, but we have not met since that appointment was made. I believe you're going to be meeting next Monday. Yeah, so you can present your report at the next council meeting.
okay, Mr. President,
Yes.
I would like to thank you and Councilman Davis when I met and y'all named me the new chairperson of the Legislative Committee. I appreciate that, and was a member of that committee always. And so I look forward to the meeting coming up, you say Monday?
I believe you got an email this morning.
Email this morning, and I was actually checking to make sure what your schedule is, so assuming that it does, it'll be Monday to tomorrow.
But now we're a committee of the whole now.
They have not allowed
No.
that to happen yet.
They turned that request down as well?
We're talking about it.
Okay, so as we continue to talk to see if we're a committee of the whole, my schedule is available for Monday, and I look forward to it, and I thank you for that new appointment.
you need to get with the city attorney and set that time and all that sort of thing, you can do that tomorrow so we can get it posted so the public is notified.
Okay, and then we'll go over the processes of setting the agenda and what can be on there and how often we meet. So now, to the public, I'm fixing to find out how all of this stuff is done, and I'll get with you, and that'll be the first start, Mr. Bade. Thank you, Mr. President.
Planning and Development, Councilman Kincaid.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a update from Megan Hunter at our last meeting. At the conclusion of our Finance Committee, talked about the strategic plan. Also talked about a number of ordinances that will be being forwarded to legislative to be reviewed in legislative prior to coming to the City Council. We also, on the agenda tonight, have the capital improvement plan that is being adopted as not only part of the planning, but also part of the finance, which all leads into the budget for next year. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I've got Councilwoman Poplar as chair of our Public Works Committee. You have an update? You ready to be?
Thank you, Mr. President. We did have a Public Works Committee meeting that I had a chance to chair, and it was on Wednesday, January the 7th. We had a presentation concerning the water, and the people still at that meeting didn't feel safe drinking the water. So then Mr. Croft called in some consultants, and that was last week in the Dome, and that was the follow-up meeting, and the people still don't feel safe drinking the water, and the people are still asking answers as to why and when will they have safe drinking water that they feel that they're having. We're having meeting after meetings about this water, and the people of the city of Flint still don't feel safe with their children and their family drinking this water. The emergency manager got on television, saw him on Channel 12. Nothing against you, Mr. Ambrose, but you did say the water was safe to drink. The bottom line is, when the people that paid the bills for the city of Flint, when they feel safe drinking water, then we'll have a solution. But right now, they don't feel safe. They don't trust us. They don't trust the emergency manager, and they sure enough don't trust the water. So I'm hoping in our next public safety, public works, no, this is public safety and public works mixed together, because we're trying to get some clean, safe drinking water. And the bottom line, I don't care how you turn it, if these people don't feel safe, then we got a problem. And that's what my meeting was about. Safe drinking water.
Thank you,
Mr. President.
Yes, Councilman.
Is it appropriate for me to say, Mr. President, through you to Chairperson Popular?
Whatever.
Mr. President, because you know I only got one more chance, I'm trying to stay for this whole meeting. But Mr. President, through you to Chairperson Popular, I did attend that forum, and there has been debate about bringing consultants in. I'm hearing that the consultant deadline to submit the request for proposal, I heard it changed from today to maybe Friday. And I don't know how many people applied to try to fix the river source, but I heard that that had been extended. Had you heard that, Ms. Popular? Okay, so I've heard that deadline has been extended. And so as we wait for the consultants, I know that you know, Mr. President, and I know that Mr. Ambrose knows he's had conversation with Sue McCormick from Detroit. But Sue McCormick from Detroit is in this room. And when the public speaking comes up, I've just chit-chatted with Mr. Ambrose. It's a delicate situation. Nobody wants to get caught up in politics. Particularly, I don't want Ms. McCormick caught up in it. But he let me know that he has no problem with her saying whatever she wants to say during public comment. He did have a problem with her doing the special order through you, Mr. President, to Madam Chair.
So the quicker we get through our agenda, the quicker you'll get
The quicker
public
we
speaking.
get through the agenda, the quicker we can hear whatever she has to say in 3 minutes. Mr. President, I wonder, well, I won't even say nothing. I thank you for that opportunity, Mr. Ambrose.
Next item on our agenda is appointments, and we have 2 of them. The first one is an appointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals. It's an amendment, 140914.1, which is changing the expiration date on the previous resolution. Mr. Mays, that's in your ward. Would you like to make the motion?
Yeah.
It's been moved. Is there support?
I would move.
You said yes. So you wanted to make the motion.
Yeah, I was going to move that we approve Resolution 140914.1.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Can we have roll call, please? I'm going to get that fixed for you. Please. The 6th ward.
I don't know. Yes.
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 Mr. Mays.
Oh, yes.
The motion passes. Next item is 150027, which is an appointment to the EDC, and Councilman Nelson would be one of our 2 representatives for that board. It's been moved. Is there support?
Support.
Been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Can we
Can I-
have roll call,
Well,
please?
can I do
Mr.
that?
President.
Can you explain? I didn't know about this. Can you tell me what that is?
Economic Development Corporation.
Right.
They deal with a small loan pool that the
Okay.
city has.
And so you
I
said
believe
that there was 2. There's
there
only
is 2.
1 now?
There's only 1 now because the 2 people are no longer here.
So there was 3?
Nope, there was 2.
Okay.
Those 2 people are no longer here, so we're starting that process of appointment.
So there's another one
There's
left?
another vacancy. Yeah.
Okay, and how do we determine the appointees?
The administration asked for Mr. Nelson.
Okay.
And then I've approached Mr. Winfrey about the other one.
Okay.
And, but it's not a done deal yet.
Mr.
He and I have had some conversation. Okay?
Mr. President.
Yes.
You say the administration approached
The mayor
the mayor
Yeah.
approached Mr. Nelson,
approached me about appointing Mr. Nelson.
and so the mayor initiated this. Now, I'm going to support it probably because it's Mr. Nelson, but I'm not really satisfied that the administration would approach to appoint Mr. Nelson, and Mr. Nelson and Mr. Winfrey got elections coming up.
Okay.
And I'm here to tell you that we don't know how those elections is going to turn out, and we've been advocating for economic development.
Right.
So I know about political appointments, and so that means I'm going to approve it on the strength of Mr. Nelson. But I'm kind of appalled at the mayor to make that recommendation on an appointment, and if by chance Mr. Nelson don't win, then we got to start all over again. So I'm going to do it, but it has nothing to do with the recommendation from the mayor. That would get me to vote no.
Okay.
But for the support of a colleague, I'm going to do it. But that's kind of the wildest recommendation under the circumstances that I've heard of so far.
All right. Thank you, Councilman. Any other
Thank
discussion?
you.
Can we have roll call, please?
Yes.
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 Yeah, I'll do it this time.
Yes.
Okay, we have no licenses, we have no bonds. Our next item is under resolutions 141400. Do we have a motion?
Mr. President, I would move that we approve 141400.
Support. Been moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. President, this has to do with, I think, in short, switching Stewart Avenue from so many lanes to other lanes, and I want to see what part of Stewart Avenue that is.
Stewart and Andrew Street is what the resolution says.
Through you, Mr. President, to Mr. Nelson, do you know what part of Stewart that is? It's in the 3rd Ward, the cross streets.
That's right by, and you know where Andrew Street is, by the church.
Yeah.
Right in that area.
And to what other area?
It flows into, no, it's not industrial, it's the...
Going the other way back toward Dordt Highway.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President and Mr. Nelson.
Is there any other discussion? Can we have roll call? Mr. Freeman? Yes.
Mr. Davis? Yes. Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Ms. Galloway?
Yes.
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 Motion carries. 150030 is the capital improvement plan.
Mr. Chairman, this capital improvement plan is a 5-year strategic plan that we've all spent time looking at. It's a living document that will be changed as priorities change, but this gives us kind of the goals that we need to set for when we adopt the budget and as we look into the future. In the past years that I've been on City Council, we've never really had a plan like this to really strategically look at the priorities of where our funding should go. So this is just kind of a guide to help us in the future and to make sure that we're accomplishing those issues that we've identified in the capital improvement plan. So I'm happy to move this, Mr. Chairman.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Mays.
Mr. President, as I've looked at this 5-year capital improvement plan, and it looks like Megan Hunter wants to say, and we'll maybe try to say something during this discussion period. I have no objection to that, but my position is this, and I'm saying this for the record, and I'm trying to say it loud and clear. We have switched from emergency manager Early to emergency manager Ambrose, and they tell us that by the 8th of April, we will be in a transition period out from emergency manager. We'll wait to see. But my point is this. We have been functioning under emergency manager Early with committees of 3. We've asked for committees of the whole because when we function with a mandatory type of attendance of 3 and then we get out here and vote as a whole, some people know the details and some people don't. I go to most every committee, and so do Ms. Van Buren. But the point I'm trying to make is this. They tell us when we can meet, what we can put on our agenda, and it handicaps the flow of knowledge. I have an order that tells me what department heads I can ask questions about, when, where, and what. So I can't just keep rubber stamping stuff. And I don't rubber stamp 7-point plans. I don't rubber stamp 5-year strategic plans, whether it's for capital improvement or anything else. I want the record to reflect that when it came to infrastructure, and even though I understand that they say about $50 million for that infrastructure as it relates to the water and sewer, and when I looked at that $50 million or so over a certain period of time, I know they tell us that then when we get to budget, we will fill in the blanks as to how we pay for that over that period of time, that $50 million. I like to know a lot when I vote. So it's going to be kind of tough for me to approve capital improvement funds at such rapid pace when people tell us when to meet, how long we can meet, and some of it ain't just them. My colleagues, if you want this job, you've got to have the will to meet. And you got to sometime be able to meet longer than an hour and a half or 2 hours. Sometime you have to meet at 8, break for lunch, and come back at 5 in order to digest some of this stuff. So here we go again. I'm familiar with the Capital Improvement Fund. And remember, I don't want nobody looking back at Councilman Mays saying he voted for him. I want the council to be the council and Councilman Mays to be separate if we don't do our due diligence. So in saying that, as the vote come around to me, I've got some soul searching to do, because I'm here to tell you, and this is my final statement, the charter of this great city, of the city of Flint, tells us whether it's capital improvement funds for a new city hall, they've been talking about it, I think ain't nothing too much wrong with this one, but capital improvement for pipes underground that deliver water, all of these capital improvements that they give us a skeleton draft and want us to approve it and then come back later and we fill in the money parts, I got a problem with, because the charter tells us that if I want to know the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, I get to ask questions under oath. I get to ask questions just like they do in Washington and Lansing. I can put department heads, I can put the DEQ, I can put people under oath, and I can ask the questions and get the truth, the whole truth. We've been known as a council that votes on half-truths. So here we go again. Some stuff is coming at me. And for the record, I'm getting awful leery at votes coming at me. And I can't meet when I want, can't talk when I want, can't get the information the way I want. So I appreciate your indulgence, but I hope that people are listening to me close, because I don't want to just go along to get along, and at the end of the day, if I ain't got it all, I don't want them to say the council voted for that. I want them to say that the council, except for Eric Mays, voted for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Kincaid.
Mr. Chairman, just not to carry on, but I wanted, when I moved this, I meant to also say that the Planning Commission has looked at this, and at their January 13th Planning Commission meeting, they adopted this unanimously with some recommended changes, and then those changes are incorporated in the capital improvement plan. So thank you.
Can we have roll, please?
Mr. President, it seemed like Megan Hunter was inching to her seat, and she did. Is it okay if she wanted to say something?
We're going to move forward with our roll call.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Motion carries. We have no liquor licenses on our agenda. Ordinances for second reading, we do have several of those. We did have public hearing on that, and this would be for adoption. Does someone want to make a motion in whole?
Mr. President, based upon these ordinances, how many of them are connected that we could put together, or do you want them all separate?
No, I mean, they're basically all connected with those things that we've been talking about in legislative committee that deal with things like, you know, a 2-year budget and setting a budget stabilization fund, that sort of thing.
And I understand the packages of ordinances that was in the legislative committee, which I now chair. So my motion would go as such, and I don't know what I'm gonna vote on it, but I'm gonna give you the motion to approve. Don't know if I'm gonna do it, but I'm making the motion to approve ordinances 140850, 140851, 140852, 140853, 140854.1, 14085.1, 140.905, 140.910.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Councilman Mays?
I would like my comments that I made as it related to the Capital Improvement Fund, I would kind of repeat them verbatim. And I know that I like stuff to come at a slower pace. I like to know the details, and I understand that this one is the one that they're looking at. When these ordinances passed that Mr. Early and others put together at lightning speed, they figure that if we approve this, we're going to get a transition advisory board and the emergency manager will leave. Well, my position is this. A city administrator being paid $140,000 with a car, the highest paid person with an emergency manager order forthcoming that will tell her she got power over the council and the mayor, and a 3 or 4 member transition advisory board that she reports to, is still just like a group of emergency managers. We don't have our democracy, so I don't like the way these things done came. And if I made a motion to refer them back to legislative committee, which I now chair, I don't know what would happen there. So I've moved them, and once again, I'll listen to my colleagues, and I don't just go along to get along. I learned in school. Know the details of what you're voting on. And don't get me wrong, I know some of this stuff. But guess what? I like for stuff to come back to committee, and then when it comes out of the committee to the floor, I've done my final look. That did not happen. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other discussion? Can we have roll call, please?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public speaking. Looks like we have 17, maybe 18. Just as a reminder, you each have 3 minutes to come to the mic and say what you need to say. Did you want
You
to
say, who did the name that you call?
I haven't called anybody's name yet because I thought you were going to say something.
Oh, I will say something if you allow me to. Mr. President, this is through you to Mr. Ambrose and to the public. Believe me, my position sometimes mean nothing in the city of Flint, but to the first ward and the people who elected me, that's who I pay attention to. I'm getting complaints left and right about people with rashes. I've studied the water issues. If I may, I've studied the water issues, and I tell people all the time, I'm learning more about the details of water, or as much about water as Forrest Gump had to learn about shrimp. I done learned about coliforms, TTHMs. I've learned about infrastructure. I've looked at budgets. And I noticed that when I requested the budget information, it showed a net of $10 million after 6 months, if I'm reading that right. That means after all personnel had been paid, water mains have been fixed, we had a net of $10 million. Now, whenever I'm interpreting what I read wrong, somebody correct me, but I say at this rate, if it stayed the same, we would have a net at the end of this fiscal year of $20 million. So when I hear figures of $12 million to what I believe can get us good water while they bring in the consultants, because now they done scooted the deadline back, and I'm telling them, if you gonna bring in consultants and fix this Flint water stuff, well, we ain't got there in 9 months. I know the community gonna be alarmed because the end of February, the 1st of March, another one of them letters gonna go out and say if it's infants, elderly, of people with compromised immune systems, and they're going to be up in arms again. I got church folks who I believe calling me, telling me they had rashes. My 83-year-old mom, it done got personal, rash. We had over 300 and something people testifying at Antioch Baptist Church, and it don't take me as a rocket scientist to believe that even though they bring the DEQ in here and others and say it meets the minimum drinking standards, the minimum drinking standards is different from airborne TTHMs. They telling me now when the steam from the shower or when the steam comes up from boiling the water, that them airborne things is different from drinking standards. So when you hear me say that I want the experts not to be in the dome on a panel, I want the experts before council, just like the charter say, under oath, telling me the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Because when you do it the way the charter say, and I'll wrap it up, when you do it the way the charter say and get the whole truth, then guess what? If you don't, you could get a penalty. But when you do it a different way and nobody holds you accountable, they can tell you half of what they want. The first speaker that's going to come up to this mic, if she will, and Mr. Ambrose, I mean, if you didn't tell me that it was okay, because we don't want to damage no relationships. I'm so glad that you and Ms. McCormick had a casual conversation today, however it happened, and I hope from now on that y'all will pick up the phone and call each other, because I've had some conversation, and I'm finding out we ain't got to do no 4 to 5 million lump sum, and that the term, long term and short term, and all of the different variables.
Councilman, if you're asking her to come up first, is that your question?
Well, I put a slip in for her first.
I'll call her. Do you?
So her name would be called first. But now if you asking her, and if we can do it.
Is that your request, Councilman?
My request is her to be treated politely, and that her and Mr. Ambrose enter in the dialogue, and nothing I'm doing here is, I don't want to jeopardize Detroit and Flint's relationship.
Councilman, if you want to move forward, then.
Because you got to go, I know it.
If you want to hear what she has to say.
I'm ready to hear. And I thank her so much from driving from Detroit, and I thank Mr. Ambrose for saying that it's okay for her to speak.
Thank you. Ms. McCormick, you have 3 minutes.
Hey, be nice.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Members of the Flint administration and citizens. I'm Sue McCormick, and I'm the director of the City of Detroit's Water and Sewerage Department, which many of you know as DWSD. I really want to thank Council Mays for the invitation to be here this evening, asking me to come, but also the emergency manager, Mr. Ambrose, for a conversation that we had earlier today, which made clear to me that some of the communication between DWSD and the City of Flint perhaps was not as clear as it could have been. Just a little about myself. I've been in Detroit about 3 years now as the director, and prior to that I served as the director of the City of Ann Arbor's water utilities, and prior to that 22 years with the Lansing Board of Water and Light and Water Utilities, creating a regional system in the Lansing area. So put simply, I've really spent the entire adult portion of my career serving the residents of the city, the cities and the state of Michigan with quality water at reasonable price. That's really the mission that I've been upon. DWSD historically has provided water of unquestionable quality, good tasting water, and it continues to do that today. We're proud of that. And while that quality is a constant, many of our areas of our operation have changed. I certainly know that the City of Flint has made a decision to move forward to use its water treatment plant and to buy water from Lake Huron. Our offer to provide emergency services for the City of Flint for as long as it needs it in no way asks you to reconsider that. I certainly have said that we're interested in a long-term relationship, but the nature of that relationship can be whatever suits the city of Flint. If that's provide emergency long-term backup services in the event you lose the lake pipeline or other things, we're open to those conversations. But our offer to extend the ability to open the pipeline for emergency services is not contingent upon those conversations coming to a fruitful conclusion. We are merely interested in addressing whatever Flint sees as its needs in the short term in order to serve its public well. And all I'm here to say is we're open to conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker.
Our next speaker is Mr. Keith Pemberton. Mr. Pemberton.
Just leave my computer, I'll come back again.
My name? I'm Keith Pemberton, and I live on Custer Avenue in Flint. And the reason I'm here is because of the same reason everybody else is here, the bad water. And we listen to everybody in all the meetings that they've had so far, and all of the get-togethers and the town hall meetings and everything else that we had so far. And everybody that comes to those meetings is in agreement. The water is bad from the Flint River. And I want to thank the 4 members on this side here and Mr. Freeman wherever he went, because last Wednesday night at the meeting that we had over the quality of the water, we sat in the meeting of the finance just before that meeting. And most of the council wouldn't even look at us. And the ones that did, except for Mr. Mays, Mr. Davis, and Mr. Nelson, looked at us like we had leprosy, like we were lepers. And when people got disgusted because they just would ignore us and they got up to leave the room, all kinds of snickering went on. Well, as of Wednesday night at the quality meeting there, the information meeting, everybody walked out of that meeting on the same team. Before that, we all had issues. Before that, we all had problems. But we all had our individual stuff. After that meeting, we're one group. And I can tell you this, every one of us represent at least 50 people out there that we come to these meetings for. And you can make snicker and make all the fun you want. But the truth of the matter is if we got to wait, then we'll wait, but we'll take care of it on election day. And we'll see your behinds on the way out. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir.
Our next speaker is A.
Abachuku, can you please appoint the microphone, sir?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to all of you. My name is Akil Adberi-Chukwu, reside at 2017 South Averill. I'm here regarding the water issue. The water that's being supplied to the resident and businesses in the Flint City is a bad product. I suggest the following as a result of a bad product. Anytime you have a bad product, whether it's meat, vehicle, there's an alternative. You return it. You look for adjustment. So I'm suggesting that the resident as well as business get a water credit. Number 2, because we can't use this water, the water is not even good for the lawns, not less alone to drink. I suggest that all shutoffs for water notice be suspended. Why are you turning people water off when they can't use it? Number 3, I suggest a rollback in the rates. It suggests in the Detroit Free Press there's an additional 14% that's upcoming. For what? I just got my water bill today. 2 of us in the house, $175 a month. $175 for one, 2 people. Now, I have a problem with that because we've been buying drinking water in addition to that. So I got my I suggest to all of you, keep your receipts in addition to what you're paying. That, my water bill now is like $250 a month. That's part of a house note, part of a car note. So I suggest that the other thing that, as Ms. Poplar was saying a moment ago, and I think of her comments, that we are deserving of clean, safe drinking water. We are paying for this. Why do I have to beg you to do what's right? It's your job to provide your constituents their needs. But instead, you treat us as though we're a third world community. Give us what you want, when you want us to have it, like you want us to have it. The fact about the Flint River water, it's a ditch. The water change every time the season change. The water will never be consistent. So we don't want no Flint River water. And every time you bring a consultant in, and you got these people up here talking about the budget, and that costs money. You're bringing them in, and then you got to test it to see if it's okay. So my bottom line to all of this is that these issues that we're facing local, fire, water, safety, police maintenance, I'm concluding.
Sum it up, sir.
I'm concluding. It's not only budget, but it's ethnic cleansing. You know damn well what you're doing is to run these folks out of the city of Flint because you got another agenda.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comment. I just want to make it for the record. I know this is not natural and normal for a person to be chairing and then make a statement, but I am. The city is not responsible. The person that makes the last decision is the emergency manager right there. He is making the final decision on us getting water from Detroit. I've pleaded and I've begged that we consult with a pathologist who study the orchard or study the nature and the causes of diseases, so that we can submit a report to the federal court and ask the federal court, the magistrate judge, to put an injunction on using the Flint River. We're fighting against two forces.
This is not just for the council.
No, sir.
This is for Mr. Ambrose or Mr. Ambrose
yes,
as
sir.
well.
Yes, sir, but your time is up. Thank you, sir. I'm just saying something for my colleagues, that the city, if it was up to us, we'd change it overnight, but we cannot do that. It's the state. It's the state. The state is making the decision. The state, the emergency manager is making the decision on us using the Flint River. City council has no authority over that. Call the next person. No, I'm saying the city council, if we could, we would change it tomorrow, city council. Jerry Ambrose has the authority. He's making the decisions not to switch us over. I'm fighting. Let's get the pathologist. Put our money together. Let's get a pathologist who can make a report.
Let's get rid of Mr. Ambrose. Let's get rid of Mr. Ambrose.
Please, sir. Excuse me. I'm going to rule you out of order if you do that again.
Mr. Chairman, let us hear from the
Let's move forward. Let's move forward. Let's move forward.
But this is the water today, and we have rations.
Our next speaker. Come on. Mr. Tony Palladino, will you please approach the podium?
Tony Palladino, east side of Flint. You guys are pointing the finger at the wrong people. It ain't just him. He's that guy they're putting in front of you so you don't look at the real people that are causing this problem. We've got to go down to Lansing. We've got to get the federal involved. We need to have people here. Now, I'm being a little calm tonight. Yes, I blew up the other night. Josh had said something earlier. We're not going to have this circus. Well, quit putting them clowns in front of us. You know what I'm saying? There was not one thing answered there. This man's dogs were dead. Nothing happened. He couldn't even speak it. And another thing, this little slip in the notes and picking them out so they can choose the questions they're going to ask, that's bull. I call bull on that. A man should be able, or a woman should be able to stand up and make a point. Mr. Ambrose, you are the man right now, but you ain't the man, okay? I'm giving you the respect that you deserve right now. But come tomorrow, when we all get together, it's going to happen. I'm done with this. Here's another thing. When you come in here, it's kind of confusing. We had a couple behind us that don't know that you get a slip and how you fill it out. There needs to be a way that someone from off the street can walk in here and learn this government politics things in layman terms. We need to make it easy to understand. I'm trying to keep my stuff together here. At the last meeting, I heard something about 90 million, 80 million, and $50 million in assets or whatever that they collected from the residents. We lost $30 million in a week. Where's this money at? Come on, where is this money at? Yeah, and here's the thing. You want a consultant? Give me $5. I'll give you some, I'll tell you how it's going. It's obvious. The residents are your consultants. They're telling you right now. This is a problem. You guys know it. And I'm telling you, I'm losing my hair. It don't look like it, but I'm losing my hair. We got rashes. I'm dizzy sometimes. I mean, I'm dingy most of the time, but I'm dizzy now. You know what I'm saying? And something's got to be done with this. And we need to be heard, man. We need to be heard real bad. And this infrastructure, what a drone. This is a drone joke. It's infrastructure. What is that? We've had, man, Mr. Mott used some of this plumbing when he was a kid. You know, we know it's got to be fixed. My neighborhood on the edge of the park is isolated. I feel like it's not getting flushed right. You know what? It's just like if you're in a river and you go to the right of it, you got all that garbage that's floating off to the right. We're not in that mainstream. This needs to be checked. And as far as your letter, I own 3 houses on the east side, and I did not get one letter about any of this stuff going on. That's wrong, wrong, wrong. We need to be informed now. Not tomorrow, not now. And we need the Army Corps of Engineers to come here. They can wipe this all out. Let's get some help in here. We need some federal help. I'm done with the state. I'm done with the city. You guys are taking a rap. We're not getting the answers. We're done with this. It's not him. It's not him. This has got to go federal. People are getting sick, dogs, animals. Who's dying that we don't even know about? That's another thing. Is there some kind of issues that, or somebody that could come in, like you said, a pathologist, right now? How many people are died because of this? You know what I'm saying?
Sum it up, sir.
All right, I want to just say, I think we are being bamboozled by a lot of everybody. And here's the thing, it ain't just him. We need to bring the federal government in. This is bull, and I'm calling bull right now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Our next speaker is Mr. Jack Panic. Mr. Panic.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Jack Panic. I live at 2202 Montclair Avenue. I'm here about the water and one other little issue. I'm 72 years old. You sent me a letter out telling me I can't drink the water, shouldn't drink the water. My daughter just recently moved in. She has a baby, so we can't use the water, period. To me, it's like me going down and leasing a car, and you deliver it to me, and there's no engine in it. But yet you want me to pay that payment every month. It just shouldn't happen. Okay, I'm really against this. Another thing is, I've talked to Scott Kincaid about this issue on Windermere Avenue, where there's got a garage running there for the last 2 years in a residential area in the cultural center, and nobody will do anything about it. I've asked Jesse Buchanan again today, and he said he ain't going to do anything about it. Well, it's not zoned to have a garage on Windermere Avenue. I'd like to have that taken care of. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Our next speaker is Mr. R.L. Mitchell. Mr. Mitchell.
I'm Mr. R.L. Mitchell. I live at 759 East Linden Street. About this water stuff, before the president left out of here and put the vice president in his place, he said he told Mays he was tired of turning his place into a circus. And Mays said he don't go along just to get along. But I said that just to say this. I went over to my payee house to get my money this morning. He said, when I got there, about 6:30 in the morning, he said, the lady called, told you come in to get the dentist. But he said, no, don't go down there, it's too early. He said, I want to make another. I said, no, I want to go. But then he says, dang. Then he put $30 in the envelope, but when I got there, I had to get my tooth cleaned. Then she cleaned my tooth. She said, she take my blood pressure. She said, wait a minute. She got real quiet. I said, what's the matter, doc? She said, you got to have blood pressure, sir. I said, what you mean? It was good. She said, you represent the new age blood pressure. He was 18 over something, she said, but you the new, but she said, and I think you might have to do a root canal. I said, pull the tooth. She said, no, we'll be back and save it, sir. The next appointment on the 3rd of February. So I think it's out in Beecher. I think it's got something to do with that water, it's my blood pressure. So she said, when the last time you had a physical? And I had to think. I said, my doctor is the oldest doctor in Flint, Dr. Diensma, from Dr. Kimmel's at Hurley Hospital. So I'm gonna have to go over there maybe tomorrow and get a physical before he can check me out and see is this Flint River water messing my blood pressure up, because treating somebody like third world people's in Flint and nobody's saying nothing, and Josh trying to make you look like a bozo up there, bald-headed black man up there behind the seat, like them women's going to Saginaw talking about women's revival, talking about getting rid of your bozo to get a J-ass something, drunken, stupid, heathen like a man don't count. You scared to go, I'm a drunken, thank you. Hey, and man, about you, and you, David. Man, what come the city attorney already running out? Tell me what come, this stuff don't count because, look at it, there they go working in front of you, ain't saying nothing about it. Right there, Josh talk about circus. They want, what? Hey man, Davis, what you
Your time is up, your time is up.
Okay, no.
Your time is up.
Our next speaker is Mrs. Barbara Griffiths-Wilson. Ms. Barbara Griffiths-Wilson.
You know, I'm a chicken, but I ain't a spring one, so I walk kind of slow. My name is Barbara Griffith-Wilson. I reside at 2026 Winus Avenue in Flint, Michigan. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day soon I'll be able to drink the water that comes from my tap. I have a dream that one day very soon I'll be able to wash my clothes with the water that comes from my tap. I have a dream that one day very, very soon I'll be able to cook with the water that comes from my tap and not have to spend dollars not in my budget for extra bottled water in order to cook. I have a dream that someone will hear the cries of the people. Water for life, not for profit. Water for the people, not so the water barons can have more money in their pockets, but so the people can have a quality of life like our neighbors in Fenton, Davison, and Grand Blanc, to name a few. I have a dream that you won't allow folk to be sick or die for nothing. I have a dream that you will push the button, Mr. Ambrose.
Our next speaker is Ms. Deanna Phelps. Ms. Phelps.
Hi, my name is Deanna Phelps. I live at 940 Pettibone. Thank you for having me tonight. I've been a nurse for 38 years, and because of the HIPAA, because the government says I can't speak about it, but I've seen so many people having so many skin issues within the last 3 or 4 months. Mostly these people are elderly. They can't, you know, they're not able to speak for themselves. We should be able to do something for our community because basically we are not being, the water is not good for us. And we need some changes, bottom line. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Arthur Woodson. Mr. Woodson?
How you doing? My name is Arthur Woodson from 402 West Stewart. I had a couple of questions that I didn't do research for, but the lady from DWSD was here, and it was better than doing research because I got it straight from the horse's mouth. They offered us $846,700 per month with a 14.92 per 1,000 cubic feet. That's equivalent to paying $8 per month per household. I told y'all this one time before, because 1,000 cubic feet is equivalent to 7,480 gallons of water. I looked it up. A human individual in one household only uses 80 to 100 gallons per day. Times that times 31, that's only 3,100 gallons a day. Now, that's $8 per day. Genesee County is getting the same deal right here. So instead of figuring like, well, we might have to pay $17 million, let's match it up to Genesee County. Genesee County pays $150 every 3 months. So now if we get the water with the same price that Genesee County is getting, the same deal, shouldn't Flint be able to pay $150 every 3 months? Why is it that we can't get this deal? Who's making the money? Where is the money going? I saw that that presentation, and I started thinking, right? In 2012, Mike Brown went on the news saying that Flint had a $4.5 million surplus in 2013. When I looked at that presentation, it showed a departure. It showed a downward departure in 2014. So we was on Detroit Water 2013, and then a departure in 2014. So we was making more money when we was on Detroit Water than we are on Flint River Water with the water that we cannot even drink. Now, here's another question, Mr. Ambrose. The study that you all sent out is based on a 154-pound adult drinking 2 liters of water at 0.8. We need a study done. Now, since y'all calling in consultants, please call a consultant in and tell me, I'm 267 pounds. I drink more than 2 liters a day, and the water, the TTHM is 0.9. Can you bring a consultant in and tell me if it's 70 years for a 154-pound person, I'm 267 and it's over 0.9, can you bring a consultant in to tell me how long do I have to live? Because it's 70 years with their study, and it's out of the range at 0.8, so I know I got less time to live now. Let me work with one of you, so that I can have access to the paperwork needed, which is the documents in the background on when they switched from Detroit Water to Flint Water. On June the 29th, 2013, they had a formal meeting, and they said that Flint was represented. I don't think so, because if Flint was represented, they said that Flint did not have the capacity to deliver treated water.
Mr. Woodson, you got to wrap it up.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ms. Floralisa Fowler. Ms. Fowler.
Actually, my name is Leanne Walters. Florissa signed up so that I could talk because of the handouts that I brought with me tonight that most of the council members did receive from me. And if anybody wants a copy of them, I have copies to show you what I'm going to be talking about up here tonight. My question, my address is 212 Browning Ave, Flint, Michigan. My questions that I want answered are, when we received the letters about our water, why wasn't it disclosed the effects of inhalation and skin contact? Why has that not been discussed? I've asked this question repeatedly at meetings, and it has not been answered. It does pertain to our minimum standard of drinking water because we bathe in this. We use this to boil water to cook for our families. Inhalation is a higher risk of exposure than ingestion. With the list that I gave you earlier today, it shows that studies that have been done, there was 31 volunteers that had blood samples taken, and that with 10-minute showers showed the highest exposure to the TTHMs compared to those who drank 1 liter of water in 10 minutes. When they did a repeat test 30 to 60 minutes later, it showed that the levels had gone down, but it was still above their baseline. Concentrations for TTHMs were 1,000 times lower in the people who drank the water, and the levels for the people who showered increased by a factor of 4. Why is this not being addressed? I also want to know, when will we get the full list of chemicals being used in our water? When is that going to be available to the public? That's been asked multiple times too. That has not been disclosed to us. And when are we going to have a meeting with the EPA in the DEQ where the citizens can ask the questions we want to ask? Not be censored, not have Mr. Croft decide what questions are important and which ones are not. Because that is what we expected at the last meeting, and that is why you had the reaction you had.
Right.
And even though DEQ said that, the EPA rep said that TDS, which are total dissolved solids, are not a standard with the EPA. It is a standard, maybe not one that's enforced, it's a secondary standard. And their minimum for TDS is 50. Ours is testing at 236. So why is that not a concern? Because that's a concern for me. That's a concern for my family. Hard water isn't considered dangerous, but it's the sediments and the bacteria that can happen with the interchangeable sediments. I have sediment in my water, and I'm sure I'm not the only one up here that has sediment in my water. So when are these questions going to be answered? When is this going to become as important to Mr. Ambrose and Governor Snyder as it is to the citizens of Flint? Like I said, if anybody wants a copy, I have the printout on what the chloroform is, what the short-term effects are, what the long-term effects are. Think short-term effects, central nervous system, cardiac arrhythmias, abnormalities in liver and kidney. Nobody is addressing short-term. Why? Well, like I said, if anybody wants it, I also have a list of where my resources came from, and there's a very nice one from the Michigan DEQ
Excuse me,
in
Miss,
this list.
you have to sum it up.
Yeah, I know. I'm ending with, on this list, there is a drinking water contamination health risk from the Michigan DEQ. First one on my list.
Thank you. Mr. President. Yeah, Mr. President, do they know that once we hear them speak, we will answer the question?
Yes, I would thank you, Councilman Mays. For those who do not know that there's been an order I don't agree with. If I was up here, I would let you speak and I would respond. But however, there's been an order that's been in place that council cannot respond until after the last person has came and made their presentation. It's something I don't agree with. If it was up to me, I'll respond every time you say something because that's the right that you should have. Free speech. Yeah, free speech. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But unfortunately, I don't have that right to be able to do that. But if I did, I would respond every time.
So Mr. President, if you guys will hang in there, we will respond.
Yes.
And you know we already Facebook friends, so hang in there, and God bless us all. We're making it through this meeting, and we are doing good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Mays. The next person is?
The next person to speak is Mr. Adam Jerricks. Mr. Jerricks? Adam Jerricks?
Adam, did he leave? He had that flag.
Adam Jerricks? But please, audience, do not leave because your question should be answered. Please don't leave and bear with us. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Pastor W.E. Whitaker. Pastor Whitaker.
Good evening. Blessed New Year. There are 3 words that was laid up on my heart before I got here, really 4. It seems like everyone is unconcerned, inconsiderate, unaccommodating, but most of all, we are basically neglected. 100 years, I heard Mr. Croft say 100 years of plumbing. You want us to rectify it in a few days or a few years. Then you let water run at almost 100 gallons per minute for 3 days, and we're supposed to pay. Anyone knows that fecal material or manure or any of that is the most potent and most dangerous and most toxic to anyone. I turn on the water for a bath, the hot water is clear, turn on cold water, it looks like brown mud. Dogs and cats are dying. The tomatoes were turning black in 3 days. You sit around here and act like nothing is going on. This is not third world. We pay more. The reason why the political and the religious and the social dynamics of this whole thing is, Port Huron has some of the best water in the world. Only 3% of the water is drinkable. At the rate you're going now, even the vegetation is dying. I know persons' dogs are dying. Older people are getting sick. I know that there is a dynamics that's already been studied from the fact that how long will people live eating fecal material? What are you getting, marinated water? You can't kill all of that stuff. In 1973, water was used 15 times a day. The chlorine in the water is not even substantial. The metal that's coming out of the pipes. There's 6 filters you have to make sure, and a 7th one that's come out to help you to live longer. You're having a renal failure because of Tylenol, Aleve, ibuprofen, when you should have nothing but aspirin. People are dying, their renal failure is coming up. People are making mega dollars for money, and the lobbyists, what, 1 pill, $5, then you have to pay $200? What kind of games are you playing? You're dealing with life and death, a systematic way of destroying people, especially when they have the wrong kind of water. When 75% of the world is water and 90% of your body is water, and then you're going to give me some more dirty water? Most of you don't even drink the water here. If GMOs will not use the water here, what is your problem of getting the water? You pay more for what? $400 for some water?
Pastor,
it's the money.
Sum it up, Pastor. Thank you.
It's the money.
Thank you, Pastor.
Our next speaker is Ms. Catherine Hayes. Ms. Hayes.
Good evening.
Oh, I ain't never did this. This is the water from today. This is not last week. This is not when y'all first sent out the letter. This is today's water. I don't know if y'all can see. It's not as clear as it should be. I just put it in a bottle because I wanted to bring some. I am like the gentleman talking about people with illnesses. I have a serious case of diabetes. I'm not the only one. My best friend got Crohn's. I woke up one morning with a rash on my face. Didn't know what the heck it come from. My sister has Crohn's that's got a rash. But then he said it's okay to drink the water, but not for people with a low immune system, infants, and elderly. What's the difference? We still can't drink it. What we supposed to wash up in? Then instead of y'all saying, okay, we need to do something about this problem, y'all want us to donate water. We need water for ourselves. I'm not getting no understanding. My other question is, before I walk from up here, why the water bill so high if our water ain't no good? Why did me and my fiance buy a house that we stuck with a water bill from not even the last person, the person before that if we don't pay it, they're going to add it on our taxes like we can afford it in the city of Flint. We trying to be a homeowner. He don't even know the last person, but we stuck with that water and it's going on our taxes. Can anybody answer that? Can anybody check, study it? And all I get is the water bill goes with the house. So if that's the case, I could move, leave that water bill there, move in another house, get the water cut on there because my old water bill is where I left. And the landlord gets screwed. I've been raised here. I went to school here. This is unreal.
Unreal.
This is really unreal.
Yeah.
God rest on my mama's soul, because I wish she was here, Mr. Nelson. And I said that because she walked him through the neighborhood. I know he'll remember now. I thought I told him because his feet was hurting. But I got to stand here for her, me, us, and anybody else. It ain't just about me. It's about everybody. Everybody ain't healthy. Everybody ain't well. And the ones that's well and don't have no innocence, why you want to make them sick with the rest of us? I'm already sick. I'm already dying from my health issues, but y'all gonna kill me even quicker. That's wrong. I got 13 grandkids I live for, and the last thing I want to die from is a rash in this water. Something need to be done. The answers, it ain't nothing. It's just not coming up quick enough, y'all. But if we get mad and clown, y'all want to get the police and put us out. That's not right. That's not right. We own a house. I can't afford no bottled water. My dude drank a lot of water. Somebody want to donate some to us? Everybody can't afford bottled water. Everybody can't go to the store. I don't care if it is $3 a case. You got groceries, kids, and bills. And we can't even keep up with the bills. So how we gonna buy bottled water when the consumers, my consumer's $251 last month, it's $500, and I ain't understanding, it's only 2 people. The water, 100 and something a month. Grand Blank's numbers every 3 months. It ain't even near that much.
The next speaker is Ms. Melissa Mays. Ms. Mays.
I like her name.
Hello, my name is Melissa Mays. I reside actually near McLaren Hospital, who is trucking in all of their water. You know, kind of a concern. I'm a citizen of Flint, I'm a voter, I'm a taxpayer, and I'm a victim. I'm a victim of greed, corruption, and the mistakes and the blatant stupidity of our government. This is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that we cannot have water that we need to survive is astounding. I mean, people in third world countries are fighting, and we have huge corporations donating all this money to help them. We can't even get our own city to help us, nor our state or anyone else. So I understand it was a hope that we could, you know, clean our own water, you know, hopefully when the KWA comes through, we can get all this. However, it is a mistake. A mistake was made. Obviously, we can't treat our own water. We cannot provide our own citizens with clean, healthy, affordable water. It's a mistake. We're human. We made the mistake of voting for these people, or some of the people they're going to put in. So I admit my mistake. I voted for somebody that I thought would help me. So I'm going to go ahead and admit my mistake. I take it back. Yeah, aside from a few of you who have been down there on the street with us at 16-degree weather, protesting, getting awareness raised, we're just going to start doing this ourselves. We are going to get our pathologist. We are going to get an epidemiologist, because I'm 36 years old, and my hair's falling out. My blood tests are a mess. I was healthy, and now I have rashes on my face. I can't go to work. It's an embarrassment. Can't put makeup on it to cover it because it burns. Let's see, I didn't have these problems last year. Last year I didn't have a $180 water bill. We don't cook with it, we don't drink it, we don't use it for our cat. We don't water our plants with it because they'll die. So there's an extra $100 that's gonna come out of me and my children, my husband, all of our pockets, because we can't use what you're charging us ridiculous rates for. It's disgusting. And everyone who made this decision and who is keeping this going, shame on you. All I know is my name's Melissa Mays, and I am going to draw as many people together as I can to pull all of you out and show who made this decision, who's profiting from it. Until the day I die, I am going to make sure that we have clean water and that your corruption is exposed, whoever it may be, and that you can suffer like the rest of us. Thank you.
The next speaker is Darnell Sharon.
Darnell, Sharon? Okay.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Darnell Sharon. Amen. I live at 2266 Darrell Drive. I'm sort of like the new kid on the block here. I've been in country for 3.5 months. I've lived for the last 33 years in Germany. And I am not going to be repetitive, but what I have heard in this room tonight is people begging in the United States of America for clean drinking water that they pay for. Are you kidding me? Is this for real? I have been bragging for 33 years on the country that I believe in, the United States of America. We're not only the richest, I said that we're the best, and I've come back and my heart bleeds and it is broke for these pleading people. I realize that this is actually not the forum that I should complain to because there's nothing that you guys can do about it. Actually, my plea is for the people who have come here. What you need to do is vote for the right people. Their track record proves that they care nothing about you. They charge you for the poison that is coming from your pipes. It's just a hidden tax. I don't care what is being done with the money because you definitely are not getting clean drinking water to the people. These people need to be charged. Some of them need to be put in jail, and you need to vote some people in who will what's it that you do? You protect and serve. That's what each one of these people up here are supposed to do. They took an oath to protect you and to serve you, and they cannot give you clean drinking water. It is a shame, and I just can't wrap this 3.5-pound piece of meat around the fact that people are in America begging for clean drinking water. This is an outrage. It's preposterous. That's all I have to say for right now. I'll be back, though.
The next speaker is Ms. Shalana Jackson. Ms. Jackson. Ms. Shalana Jackson.
Good evening. My name is Shalana Jackson. I am 27 years old. I am a mother of 5. My husband's dying of brain cancer. I have had 3 pets die on me in the last 6 months, and my water comes out of my faucet smelling like it came out of someone's butt. It's disgusting. It's horrible. Now, there's plenty of people in here, like this lady back here, I forgot her name, talking about her hair's falling out. My hairline's receding. I pull out gobs of hair every single day. I take a shower maybe once every 3 or 4 days because it burns my skin. Now, there's people here who have brought posters. Me, I brought something better than posters or pictures. I've actually brought my skin. See all these dots? I have scars all over both of my legs. Ain't never been there before. It feels like something is eating my skin when I'm in the shower. I feel like I have acid being poured on my skin. My 2-year-old son cries and screams bloody murder every time he's in the bathtub. Me and him and my other children, we all get out looking like lobsters, like we just got put in boiling water, and we haven't. My daughters tell me that the water is biting them. 4 and 6, the water is biting them. What am I supposed to tell my children? All my friends and family, they all live in the same area, and showering at their house wouldn't be any different than showering at mine. I have no safe place to go to shower with me and my children. My husband, I'm sitting and watching him get sicker and sicker and sicker, and he's battling brain cancer. I'm afraid every day that my husband's gonna die quicker, not because of cancer, not because of the chemotherapy, but because of the water. It comes out of our sinks brown when it's turned on cold. It comes out cloudy white when it's hot. It's disgusting. This is an absolute, oh, what's the word? This is genocide in the making, and it's disgusting. I'm disgusted with the city of Flint. I personally want to give my house back to the land bank. I don't even want my house no more. I don't want to live in Flint. I wish y'all could reimburse me every dime that I've spent on my water and my water bills in the last 10 months alone, and that'd be more than enough for me to move out of Flint. I don't want to be here no more. I'm disgusted with the city. It's one thing after another. There ain't enough police, people getting robbed and shot every day, and now, hey, the water's going to kill you too. I didn't script any of this. I had no intentions of actually being able to come here tonight. I had to have somebody come to watch my family while I was here, and I had no idea that I was going to be here this long to be able to speak, but I'm disgusted as a homeowner, as an upstanding citizen. I don't go out committing crimes. I pay my bills. I take care of my family. Watching my husband die, and die quicker now because of the water. Who's going to pay to fix my legs? And it's not just this leg. Here, take a good look. It goes all the way up my legs. It's all over my butt cheeks. And I can't get rid of it.
Thank you for being here. What more do you need?
The next speaker is Mr. Quincy Murphy. Mr. Quincy Murphy.
It's bottled that they gotta have too. Just like us, so what's the difference? Somebody has to speak for us. They aren't.
Good evening. My name is Quincy Murphy, and before I get started, I want to first congratulate Councilman Kerry Nelson and Councilman Herb Winfrey on your appointment position. I would like to read a brief paragraph in this letter. This letter is a formal complaint for no confidence in the Flint City Council appointment process. I am requesting a public hearing and an investigation on the process in which the 3rd Ward Councilman was selected. Based on the city charter, it is a conflict of interest for 5 council persons who had a predetermined decision on the appointment for 3rd Ward candidates prior to the interview process. In Section 1-604, an elected officer, or appointee, or employee who has a conflict of interest between the personal interest and the public interest as defined by law, this charter or ordinance shall fully disclose to the chief legal officer the nature of the conflict. This conflict of interest occurred during the interview process for the 3rd Ward Council seat. On Monday, January the 5th, 2014, I was the first of 3 candidates interviewed to be appointed to the 3rd Ward City Council seat. During the interview process, I was verbally told that I would not be getting the position and I didn't have the 5 necessary votes needed prior to all other candidates who was not interviewed or before all other councils could ask questions. I'm going to stop right there because I don't want to read the whole letter of complaint. I want to present this to the council secretary, and if you can possibly sign it, I want to get a copy back. And I also want to present Mr. Ambrose, could you pass this to him, please, with a copy of this complaint. This is the first process. It was very heartbreaking to sit here and watch the other candidate interviews, and not one candidate was told that they was not going to get the position prior to the interview process. I felt like it was I was trying to keep my composure while I was being interviewed, and I thank you, Monica Galloway and Councilman Eric Mays, for standing your grounds and letting the process take place. But this goes to show you why people don't get out and go vote, and what people talk about when they say backdoor deals. Because I've been a supervisor. Not one time have I ever told a candidate that was being interviewed that you wasn't going to get the job prior to you being interviewed. I think it was a smack in the face, and as a person that's been working in this community for over 20 years, I felt disrespected. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ms. Gertrude Marshall. Ms. Marshall? Gertrude Marshall.
Hi, my name is Gertrude Marshall. I reside at 3010 Cheyenne Street. I first would like to just say, City Councilman, I'm understanding your position. You guys don't have any authority to really do anything right now because of the state manager. I understand that. Mr. State Manager, you're here to serve the people. You're not here to serve your boss or anyone else. You're here to serve the people. And we're having water come out of our taps that is not only harming us, but you are killing our babies. That's our future. I take that very personal, very personal. I really want to address the citizens. And I want to say to you guys, it's time to fight back. It's time to fight back. We sign our petitions. We try to do it the peaceful way. But it's time to really take a stand. We have to pull together. We need to get this money up to get the pathologists and whoever else we need to come to this city and test this water and see what they're feeding us. And I'm not talking about anybody from Michigan. I'm talking about someone outside of Michigan. I don't trust anybody in Michigan at this point, nobody. When it comes down to federal, did you guys know that there's a federal clause under 50 U.S.C. 1520, section B1, that states that they can test this city or any other city they choose to test as long as the local government know about it. We don't have to know about it. We don't need to know about it. As long as the local government know about it, they can do whatever kind of test on the citizens that they choose to do. And this is what I believe is being done. For them to connect, for our water to be this contaminated, there is something really strange going on. For no one to decide to help us, they hear our cry, they hear us, but they don't care. They don't care. It's about the money and it's about whatever else that they got going that's underhanded. It's time to not pick it one day a week. It's time to pick it every day out of the week, including Sunday. It's time to chain yourself to the water company, whatever it takes to say, hell no, we ain't taking this no more. I have 12 grandbabies. My grandmama and my mamas, they went to not only Lansing, but Washington, wherever they had to go when our lives was being threatened. When us not being able to eat was being threatened. They said, hell no. That's what they said, and they got up. Faith without works is dead. It's dead. It's time out for signing the papers. It's time out for coming up here talking to these people. They can't do nothing for us. They can't help us. It's time for us to help us. We have to help us. We have to do this. Now, Mr. Davis, I heard him say earlier that that he wants to get a pathologist or whoever it is. I don't know nothing about the water and what's in it. I just know it's killing us. I got a rash out of this world on my body. And like that baby said, it is eating us alive. It feels like more than acid on my skin.
You have to sum it up. You have to sum it up, ma'am.
I'm asking y'all to please, whatever donations you can make to get this pathologist, do it. I guess he's going to be the one taking the money. I don't know. But do what you got to do. Starting tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, I will have my big black tail on that corner with my sign. Every day. Every day. Saying, hell no, I'm not taking it. And I'm asking some of y'all to come out with me. It don't take but 1 or 2 more. All God said it take 2 or 3. If you got to work at intervals, work at intervals.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
For y'all help.
Your time is up. I understand your frustration. You know I do. Excuse me. We have to carry this on. The next person is about to be called up. Thank you. Thank you very much.
How many more speakers we got? How many more speakers we got?
Our last speaker is Mr. Latham Jefferson.
All right.
Mr. Jefferson.
You say it's the last speaker?
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I was standing down at the door one day a couple of months ago. Me and another gentleman were having a discussion. I watched the water man from somebody's water company bring in 10 5-gallon jugs of water into City Hall that these people here have to pay for. Okay? Now, when you we're pulling water out of the Flint River. The Flint River borders 8 of the world's largest contaminating factories. We're talking from Chevy in the Hole all the way down to old Buick City, within less than a block. There was a lot of chemicals that were put down and dumped in the ground back then. So what the lady stated about the stuff that's in the water is a small minute of what is out there. I'm over at my brother's keeper the other night, and I learned this from a drug addict. He was an exterminator that knew how to deal with chemicals as well as farming chemicals. He says, now, Michigan is on a sandy base. California, the Bay Area out there on a clay base. When these chemicals go down, they go down on a sandy base and they spread out. When they bury chemicals in barrels, they bury them in clay. All this Buick site, tetrachloride and all them kind of stuff. Who in here worked in General Motors? What kind of chemicals did Buick and Chevrolet use at one time? Tetrachloride and what else? Okay, all those different chemicals have went down and are going down into the ground, and they're leaking into the Flint River, and they're flowing up and down the river. So that's the type of chemicals that we have to deal with here. Yeah. Oh, and she said the paint shops, the spillment is in the water. Now, if you got a body shop paint, you got EPA coming through there twice a month because of the spray chemicals that are sprayed in the air. So the chemicals that y'all think are there, it's 10 times more than that. And the farmers.
All right, thank you very much for each and every one of you for coming up and speaking. We're at the conclusion. Now we are about to address some of your issues, and we're going to start with the first ward, Councilman Mays.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vice President. I could go through the list of, they talked about the water bills. Mr. Ambrose, are you able to stay another 10 or 15 minutes? Because this is the time, if you're able to stay 10 or 15 minutes, but if not, I want to say this to you, Mr. Ambrose, and I want to say it in the presence of the people. When we requested that we have a forum with the DEQ and the experts to come in, we had requested it in council chambers. It was switched to the Dome, and the people was asked to put their communications on cards. Something was lost in the translation. I'm glad that you was able to see the interaction from the people. Most of these people are in our community and we know them. We touch them, we feel them, we communicate on Facebook, and I wanted you to see this. I knew and hoped and prayed that this would go different from in the Dome, because it's a connection, and I wanted you to see that. I think it was a mistake when we changed that. I didn't change it, but I know who did. Also, when we try to get the public confidence based upon our charter, our Constitution, Mr. Early said to me in his office, Mr. Mays, as long as I'm here, you will never put anybody under oath to get the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But that's what our charter say. All across the United States, when that person jumped over the fence in Washington, D.C., the Congress and the Senate or whoever it was able to put the, the Secret Service under oath. And when they got to the bottom of it, somebody was moved around. We know that that system of inquiring and educating ourselves it works up in Lansing. I appeal to you that we are maybe not the PhDs sitting up here, but I'm a Michigan State grad. We got good sense, and so we have to work as a group. You have to allow us to connect and do our job with the people. I appreciate you listening to me, because even when I asked Ms. McCormick to come here, I had talked to her because we got a copy. And whenever I get a copy dealing with something that has to do with the people, and my mind said, I need to know what that term long-term meant. Because if she had to define long-term as 30 years, maybe Detroit wouldn't have worked. But when I found out that she was saying she didn't care if we cut Detroit on 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, I said people have lost confidence in the river water. And I knew that the city of Flint was saying, we're going to hire consultants and try to fix this. And I know another notice will go out. So when you in the arena I'm in, the confidence of the people have to be restored. And in fact, I believe that they're talking drinking standards, but if we brought consultant and experts in, I don't believe that my mother and these babies and others, I really believe in my Michigan State mind and heart that is something dealing with these skin rashes and the burning of the chlorine in real life different from drinking standards. So I appreciate you listening to me, and I want to say to you, don't let me inviting Ms. McCormick up here injure any relationship between the City of Flint Water Department and the City of Detroit Water Department and Flint. Let it be an opportunity to say, when we talk, we can find out different things. But if we don't talk, it's just like a marriage. We've had a marriage, and I'm finding out that when we talk, we can learn stuff. And if you see me involved in something, remember, I can have my standards and belief. I believe in democracy. I do not believe in emergency managers, but I know that when you go home, you probably do just like I do. You take your pants off and you put your shirt on just like I do. You gonna have a heart and you gonna have some understanding, but until you get in the middle of this hornet's nest dealing with real people and real problems, you might not understand. So you've already did something different from Mr. Early. You was here in a meeting. You heard real people that I talked to all throughout the week, and for confidence, for relief, and for clean water. I'm smart enough to understand that they're saying when they change the pipes, they break a loose sand and stuff, and until they flush it, because we ain't telling people properly, some of that might flow.
Councilman Mays, can you sum it up?
I will sum it up. And that's different from TTHMs. I understand about chloroform, but until you know that we got sense and that the people we represent got sense, and sometimes fact and fiction, and some of it is fact, we need to sort it out. And if you can find in your mind and heart to do something different, because y'all stretched out the time frame for consultants, and then they gonna come in just like the police consultants. I knew when them police consultants said it. 13,000 complaints was in the detective bureau. The property room was stacked up. I could have made that money because I've been around for 30 years. So trust me, sir, don't cut off the dialogue, because even though we might not get along, my heart and my mind is with the people. We got a strategical way now to show people that we can give them temporary relief. And I think that if you really consider the options we have with Detroit Water, then believe me, we got enough money there to go back and forth, and you can get it worked out with the river, and I think it jeopardizes nothing. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for being different than the other. And you stay in the middle of these meetings, because we are civilized, but it's getting frustrating, and believe me, I'm glad you seen what you said, but I seen what you seen, but I want to take my hat off to the people who's been educating me, and I want to take my hat off to the people who've been here, and Mr. Vice President, I'm going to take my hat off to you, because talking is a human right, and when there's talking, there's understanding. God bless you.
Councilwoman Poplar.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and still looking for the answers. I haven't said anything about what the water, I found out about the water with me. A few weeks ago, I had noticed that my face was breaking out. And I thought my doctor had given me some new medicine, and I thought that was it. And so I stopped taking everything that I do take. And I still had the problem. And I found out it was the water. And with me, it was the chlorine that's in the water. It's more chlorine than normal. And I even have that problem, that's why I don't get in swimming pools. I can get in a swimming pool from my neck down, but once I actually do some swimming with the chlorine. So I understand the plight of people. So now what I am doing, I am washing my face with bottled water. And the problem has cleared up. Mr. Ambrose, he has heard from Detroit. He has heard from the constituents. You cannot put a price on life. And I do believe if we continue down the road without giving clean, safe water to people, the couple of pennies that you are going to save by not switching back, somewhere down the road, your lawsuits are going to overshadow and cast the few little pennies that we have saved. I have constituents today that are talking class action suits. They're looking at, so if we can go back for these few months, what in the heck is so hard? It's obvious there's something wrong with the water. People are having problems, children, babies. You got Kroger. They're giving you a break on water. And the county is not having water problems. I haven't had a friend or a relative in the county to say anything about their water. So trust me, I feel your plight. My water bill is high. I don't wash clothes at home. I got 2 men and I don't allow them to wash cars at home, my husband and my son. They wash no cars. I wash no clothes. And my bill, I mean, 170, 160, it is making no sense, and I'm buying water just like everybody else. But trust me, if anyone on this council could go back, we would go back. But the power, we don't have the power. It's the EM, the emergency manager, Jerry Ambrose, that can make it happen.
That's right. That's right.
That's who can make it happen. My plight is the same as everybody else's that's sitting out there. So I am sorry. You got to go through it. I'm going through it. But trust me, there's one man, and that's G-O-D. God will work this out for us. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilperson Poplar. Very well spoken. Councilman Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've heard the cry tonight again of the people. Unfortunately, last Wednesday, you were not able to express yourself, and that was not our doing. Anytime we having a meeting of this magnitude, you ought to be able to say what you want to say. This is a day and an everyday process. I can't go to the supermarket, church. I was at a funeral today for Officer Crosland, and people are talking about the water. Mr. Ambrose, again, as you know, has the key. I wish we could change it now. I haven't said anything to my colleagues or no one else. I've been going to the doctor myself. There's rashes on my legs, arms. So I understand what you're saying. The young lady said that it burns. It does. But let me say this to you, that I would you to get together, stand as this young lady has said, if the people say so. And you shouldn't have to pay for the pathologist to come in. That shouldn't have to come out of your pocket. That's not right. That's not right. And I understand what she's saying, but that's not right. You're paying enough for water bills, and that's enough. All I want you to say is we're going to stick together. We up here is fighting as much as we can, as much as they allow us to fight. We don't have a lot of say-so, but we do express ourselves for the people that we serve and work for. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Nelson, well spoken. Councilman Mr. Renfrey.
I want to say thank you to all of the people that come out and express your concerns. And as a person who is holding an elected position, I'm actually embarrassed that you have to come out here and do that. You shouldn't have to come out and ask for us to provide for you or the city to provide for you water, good water source. You shouldn't have to do that. And I heard Councilman Mays say that we need to give you temporary relief. No, you pay for permanent relief. Shouldn't have to have any temporary anything. So I'm embarrassed that we are at this point, and I can understand why you have lost faith in this system. Having said that, I wanted to be very clear that I believe, based on the conversations that I've had with all of the council persons here, I think we are all in unison about how we feel about this situation. I believe that all of us here would like for us to be backed up to the Detroit system or more healthier system. That's a no-brainer. And then I want to say to my colleague, Mr. Mays, that I'm really glad that he did have Ms. McCormick to come down to explain what their position is in us hooking back up to this system. And then finally, this is what happens to democracy when you have a public act like 436 come into play. It supplants the local government. And here we are, we hearing you, and we're feeling the same as you do. Remember, we live in the city. We use the water. I don't drink it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I do. I do not drink it. I am not going to drink anything that I get a notice from that says if I have a compromised immune system. I think I'm healthy. I don't know whether I have a compromised immune system or not. And then to the gentleman who said that he sat in a meeting and we looked at him and others as if they were diseases, I can remember the meeting. I don't remember looking at you that way. This could be just my face. It's not going to get any better. So I apologize for that if you think that's what how I looked at you, but this is as good as it's going to get, all right? But I apologize for that if that's what you saw. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Winfrey, well spoken. Councilperson, Ms. Galloway.
I too wanted to address the gentleman that got the impression that that we were snickering or avoiding eye contact with the residents. That wasn't in any way what we meant to come across, and I don't remember specifically not looking at anyone, but just know that that's never, I'm sure, like my colleague said, it's never an intention that we have we do our best to try and be as personable as we can, as well as making sure that we do take the time to get any agenda items there. And I did address the young lady over in the back, because that was a very challenging meeting, because we were there to discuss finances, and there is a lot of concern about the water. And so just asking that even as we go through this process that we have some patience, not that we expect you to continue to not get the answers that you're looking for, but if we could work cohesively together. And like my colleague said, we live in the city of Flint too. So we too share your sentiments. We don't live outside of the city. We don't go somewhere and we're able to drink the water. We all are struggling with that, but we need to just hopefully come together and know that we're not trying to fight against one another. I just want to share that. The other thing, I'm concerned about the city making a decision, even if it doesn't seem financially sound right now, as it relates to going back to an alternative water source like Detroit. And the reason why I say that is because when any company is trying to build your trust or maintain integrity and character with you, they spend large amounts of dollars. And I'm thinking of like Toyota. When they have a bad part or something that has affected people adversely, they spend millions of dollars in recall money because they want you to know that they value and they're concerned about the fact that they put out a defective part. They don't look at that and say it's going to be too costly, because what their hope is that we'll spend the money to get done what needs to be done so that no one else is affected negatively going forward. But at the same time, we're trying to protect our reputation with the consumer so that in going forward, this won't be a blur on what you think about us. And so I think that I'm hoping that the city, as they're making decisions, although we are in a challenging situation financially, that they will see that this is one of those things that is worth paying the money for. And then I wanted to say to Catherine Hayes, I don't know if she's still here. Is she still here? No. Well, just for anybody, if you buy a house and there is a water lien on the property, it is not acceptable for you to pay that water lien. And so anytime you buy property, there's a title company that is involved in the process. And part of the responsibility of the title company is to see if there are any liens on the property. And before that property is transferred into your name, the person selling you the property is responsible to make sure every water lien, every state of Michigan lien, income tax lien, that you get a clean lien, that there's no liens against your property. And so I would say to anybody, that I don't know if that's a land contract thing, but that's not the way that it's supposed to go. So I just want to make sure that you know that you're not responsible for anybody's water bills. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilperson Galloway, well spoken. Councilperson Van Buren.
Yes, thank you, Vice President. What I would like to say is, one, thank you for the comments that you made. I keep seeing more new people coming out and speaking about a big problem we have in the city of Flint. And we know that it's serious. We all feel it. We all, like Councilman Winfrey said, we all live in the city of Flint. We go through the same thing. And I would believe that all of us drink from bottled water. I know I have my bottle down here. And there's a reason. You know, I too have health issues. I don't want to deal with anything more serious. My dog has breathing problems. She's now getting bottled water. and she likes the water. She keeps drinking it up, so she's going through it a little bit faster than I would want her to. But even my mother, I have a sister that lives on Cherokee, and we had a resident here from Cheyenne. She also is having similar problems. So it's all over, but we got to keep continuing to be here and voice what's going on. You see all the attention we are now getting from the media. The media needs to get that information out to the public so we can get more people out here, so we can get more voices. The hearing that was held a couple days ago, I think even though we had a finance committee meeting at the time, and I had made a suggestion if we could even adjourn early, because I knew that's what was on everyone's mind, was to get to that meeting and to have an opportunity to speak. But we found out that really wasn't what happened. But look at tonight's meeting. It was orderly. People came up one at a time, asked to speak, and this is how that meeting could have went last time. You know, given a chance for everyone to come up to the mic and say what they have to say. A lot of the information we already knew. We needed to ask questions and get our answers. So continue to speak out. Is Ms. Sharif still here? I know I saw her on that side. Ms. Sharif is doing a series of meetings starting February 2nd, and she represents the Flint Democracy Defense League. And the first meeting will be February 2nd on a Monday at Bethel United Church to talk about the water crisis. And I don't know if she has a panel, you know, I just know they're doing this the whole month of February, every Monday at different churches. That first one, they'll have a 9 o'clock meeting and a 5:30 meeting. I don't know the churches in between, but I do know another church on February 23rd will be at Woodside Church, to allow the opportunities to reach out in different parts of the community and let everyone know what is going on. I don't know the answers, you know, is it going to be solved with things that are going on now? Is it going to be solved or made better if we can switch? But I think we need to keep pushing for change and don't let it be acceptable to our life. So please continue to speak, and thank you for your input.
Thank you, Councilperson Van Buren. Well spoken. Councilman Scott Kincaid.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I can say that I'm one council person that was never in favor of leaving Detroit until the Carigandi water line come on board, because I never believed that we could get consistent, high-quality water from the city of Flint. Now, some of my colleagues, and some that are here, will acknowledge that they were more in favor of getting water out of the river than they were in being a part of the Carigandi pipeline. But what my concern is today is for 10 months, we've been getting water out of the river, and we've had a number of issues that continue to point to the issue that we can't get high-quality water from the river because the rivers change, the water fluctuates, temperature, chemicals have to be used. So we need a consistent quality water to provide to the residents of the city of Flint. And all I hear from the emergency manager and Howard Croft is we can't afford to go back to Detroit. We can't afford to go back to Detroit. They want a long-term contract. They want $5.3 million hookup fee. No one has given any of us a written document that says if we go back to Detroit, this is what we have to do, and this is what the costs are. Nobody has provided that. We've heard all kinds of innuendos about how much it's going to cost. You know, the emergency manager's here to provide us financial information. Howard Croft is here to provide us financial information. We got an audit today that ended June 30th. The river was only on stream for 2 months, May and June. And I want to see a proposal from Detroit that says if we go back to Detroit supplying us water, and it's really not Detroit, it's DWSD, it's water out of Lake Huron. If we go back to doing that, this is what we have to do at the water treatment plant, because it's not just as easy as pushing a button. There are some things that have to take place. Valves have to be switched around, and you know, it'll take, you know, a few days, I'm sure. But what are the costs? Because we know what the quality is. We know what the quality is. We've gotten water from WSD for 40 years. We know what the quality of that water is. Let's tell the residents, if we go back, this is what the proposal is, so we can sit down and show it to everybody and let us look at it. And until then, we need to accept the fact, even though we don't want to, that the emergency manager in the treasurer's office in Lansing isn't going to allow us to go back to Detroit. And the only way we're going to do it is by having residents like you come down here, have us continue to put pressure on the administration, on the emergency manager, on the treasurer's office over in Lansing, on our state representatives, to ask them to help us get a proposal from Detroit for the next 15 months to get water that's high quality and consistent, so that we don't get boil water orders in July or August, and we don't get notices in January about high TTH levels. Give us a proposal. Show us what the costs are, so we can intelligently talk to the residents and say, if we go back, this is what the cost is to the city, and this is what we're going to have to do in the short term and in the long term until Kira Gandhi comes on board. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you very much, Councilman Scott Kincaid. Very well spoken. I share your frustration. I really do. I feel that we have to, at this point in time, we have to be solution driven. Now, I'm going to come from a legal standpoint, and I'm going to stand on this when I come from a legal standpoint. If we get an expert testimony, which I call a pathologist, who studies the origin and the nature of diseases, and particularly cancer. Yes, he does autopsy, but he also does cancer for people that may have hereditary, maybe have cancer in a gene or the cancerous gene. If he can get with he or she can get with the DEQ or the EPA and ask for those sediments that's in the water, study the sediments and correlate that with cancer, weak human immune systems, people who may catch cancer in the long haul. If he makes that report and that report comes back and it's not in our favor, basically saying that we shouldn't be drinking that water, you can attach that expert testimony to a motion, sending it to the federal court, asking the magistrate judge for an injunction, which is a stop hold. At that level, it is called an expert testimony. Once it reaches a certain level in the federal court, if the federal court accepts the case, if you're moving into a civil case, it's called an expert witness. But the magistrate judge would not deny or disacknowledge that expert testimony saying that we shouldn't be drinking that water. We can resolve this in 2 weeks. You can send that motion in the court and ask for an expedient ruling. They can make an expedient ruling because it's of the seriousness of the nature. I keep telling people this all the time. The only way we can resolve this, because we're fighting against two forces. You're fighting against greed and you're fighting against arrogance. The only way that you can fight against greed and arrogance, it has to come from a legal standpoint. And if we can get this expert testimony and send it to the federal court, once again, the magistrate judge will honor that motion and put an injunction. When then we would be forced to get hooked back to Detroit, which we wouldn't go directly to Detroit, we would go through the county and get water from Detroit like General Motors do. You have to fight this from a legal standpoint, and right now we have to be solution driven. And they know this. They hoping that you guys don't listen to me. Because if you don't listen to me, it's going to be a bunch of hot air, and they don't care about us doing that. They don't care about the protests. They don't care about 1 million people standing in City Hall and hooping and hollering at the mic. They don't care about that because they'll get back on I-69 and go back home. But God cares. God cares, but I'm going to tell you something. That's right, absolutely. That's right. That's right. No, but let me tell you this. I prayed to God. I got on my knees and I prayed to God and I asked God, what can we do to resolve this? And he hit me with that pathologist.
Mr. President,
hold on, excuse me.
Mr. President, let me say this. If
Just,
I was to,
I need to finish, Eric. Councilman Mays, let me finish. And then you can say something. Let me finish. And then you can say something.
Then deal with it and quit going back
But it's
and
okay.
forth.
Let me finish. Yeah. So that's what we have to do. You have to fight it from a legal standpoint. It costs. But
Mr.
if we can get together,
President, I was trying to do that before the city attorney left.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, we got an attorney that works on behalf of the city council and the citizens of the city of Flint. That's exactly why I was trying to interrupt you. I've heard that about the lawsuit over and over. We are representatives of the people. If I made a referral to the legal department to do that on behalf of the council and or the people of the city of Flint, the emergency manager might order the city attorney not to do it.
Councilman Mays,
I'll be quiet and you'll come back to me, maybe.
I put a referral to the table asking for that. I put a referral to the table asking for that at Public Works. Right now, nobody has heard anything about that referral. But that, when you ask why can't we do that, I put a referral.
Mr. President, if you gonna let them talk, you gotta let me talk. I'm a member, so you know what you gonna do. You can't have different standards. You gotta handle this.
You can't. No. You have to have order in here. Everybody had the opportunity to speak at the mic. No, but you can't do it like that. You can't. Out of respect, you can't do that. It's our time to speak right now. Everybody had their opportunity to speak at the mic. Council was now addressing the issues of the public. So back to what I was saying. You have to make this a legal issue. And the way that we do it, that we have to find a way to get an expert testimony and send a motion to the federal court. Now, if we have to do it, I don't have a problem. But people have to help me. You have to help me help us. And if we have to get out and get money, that money can pay for it, then that's what we have to do. But right now, the emergency manager has made a decision. He has finalized and made his mind made up that he's not going to switch back to Detroit. We have to come at this issue, at this situation legally.
Mr. President.
And if everybody, excuse me, Councilman Mays, I'll let you speak your 5 minutes. Let me do mine, please.
More than 5 for you.
But I'll let you do 10. So the point that I'm addressing, and I'm going to end it, is that we got businesses downtown that's affected by this water. We got people who has money is affected by this water. Don't take it from the person who's saying it as if you're denouncing me. Take the message and run with it, because legally you can do this. This is why the attorney got up and walked out, because he knows that I'm telling the truth. Legally you can make this happen, and we can get this water switched in 2 to 3 weeks and ask for an expedient ruling from the federal court if you got an expert testimony connected to it. Thank you very much.
Mr. President.
Councilman Mays, you may be able to speak.
All I was trying to get you to say is when you attack a problem, Mr. Kincaid and I don't always agree, but what he talked about was Detroit. People want good water yesterday. And that's why we had, right now, we had Ms. McCormick come in, because we done found out it ain't no $5 million to hook up. We know it's $10 million land in the water and sewer fund now, a net. And we also know that it ain't no long-term agreement now. They can cut it on 30, 60, 90 days, cut it on and off while they get their consultants and get it together. What I've been hearing you say is about the pathologists. I know because I'm in a group on Facebook. It is documented doctors who done confirm, whether they call a pathologist or what, it's doctors done confirm that it's some problem. So we've got that expert testimony. whether we call it a pathologist or not. I'm convinced that from the people I talk to, it's people been to the VA hospital. We got documentation from doctors. So all I'm saying to you is don't look at it as just you understand the legal. The group that I'm working with understand the legal. I understand the legal, but we take progressive approaches. Now, we believe that if you're that sincere about it, I'm not fighting you. I'm trying to help you. I was going to try to get Peter Bade, through you to the attorney, to start that proceeding. I wasn't trying to hurt you, I was going to try to help you, but I already know politically and emergency manager-wise, the minute we make the referral, Mr. Ambrose ain't going to allow it. So I'm working with a group of people who we got lawyers that's fixing to meet this week. We know that the council and the mayor and certain elected officials ain't making the decision. We under a state contracted emergency manager. And if the liability falls on the state and the governor, but for the decisions they make, we understand that. We know that Mr. Anderson Fernandez filed a similar suit with what you're talking about in federal court, and it was dismissed, him and Woody Eppley and them, because of a lack of jurisdiction, because they saying it should have go into the court of claims. So that's why we have to talk to each other. I'm way beyond trying to know everything. When we work as a community, we work as a group. I can assure you, when I butted in, excuse me, I was only trying to help you legally before Mr. Bade left, but I already know what the group got lawyers. I know it's going to be some people meet when I can name the lawyer tomorrow. And I'm here to tell you, so all I was saying was, as we stay in our lane, and as a group of council people, we group up, whether it's to get Detroit, we need to be on the same page sometime. If we group up to make referrals to see if legal would do it, if we keep everybody in communications about the case that's been filed already, and we need to know that, and if we, meet with our community, but we don't want to be all over the place, because united we grow, and divided we fall. And so I'm glad you let me back in, because I didn't want to leave this council meeting divided. I didn't want to leave here thinking I'm disagreeing with you. I wanted to leave here wanting the community to know, and you to know, and my colleagues to know that everything everybody is saying have merit. But we so used to putting on a public display. And so this is something that if we can't get together on this, because it's such an issue, water, a human right. You even said earlier, send a letter to the United Nations. We ain't just talkers. We can make referrals, and our secretarial staff can send a letter to the United Nations. You were saying it's a human right, and it is. So all I'm saying is it's a way to stay focused. I appreciate the words that Mr. Kincaid said. I appreciate what you said, but on this body, we make referrals, letters wrote, we make referrals to the legal department, you send stuff to committees, and we take it from there. Ms. Galloway, I appreciate the information that you was able to get financial-wise. That's how I knew we had a $10 million net. I still want to see how much we spend per month treating that Flint River water. So that's all I was doing, Mr. Davis. I was complimenting you, I was giving you courage and credibility, but I still wanted us to, if we listen to each other and dissect it and work as a group machine, you would be surprised sometime we on the same page with the residents, and I can guarantee you it's litigation that's out there and it's happening.
Thank you, Councilman Mays. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Support. I think we should do a roll call to adjourn.
I do too.
Yeah, Madam Chair, can you please do the roll call? Madam Clerk, can you please do the roll call?
Present. Yes. Oh, yes.
Ms. Van Buren? Yes. Mr. Kincaid?
Yes.
Mr. Mays?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.